like the only apologists for station wagons in South Africa are funeral directors and motoring journalists. For everyone else, the allure of a compact crossover or sport utility vehicle is impossible to resist. Now, my estate-loving colleague Marius Roberts might punch me in the face for saying this, but I totally understand the rationale. That elevated driving position and the perception of safety it offers is enticing in the varied, somewhat unpredictable road conditions of South Africa. Sure, we like to go on and on about how wagons are a hit in Europe, but who made them the arbiters of good sense anyway? Your choice in the medium-sized sport utility vehicle ambit these days is overwhelming. There is something to be had from every manufacturer worth naming. Mazda has always had a good thing in the CX5. It was, after all, one of the offerings that helped the brand regain some equity in the wake of that divorce from Ford. But the segment has moved on considerably since the model was first launched in 2012, and in a bid to stay at the top of customers' minds, Mazda rolled out more than a few changes for 2017. Of course, the first thing you will notice is the evolution of that Kodo styling philosophy. Without sounding too poetic, the mandate was to create something that exudes an impression of, quote-unquote, solidity, sportiness, and refinement. So the roofline is lower, the lights are sleeker, and the bumpers are, bumpier. There are new alloy wheel choices and an additional selection of colors too. The palette still includes that distinctive soul red choice, which is pretty delicious, but it still looks rather fetching in navy blue. Now onto the interior, and this is where it gets really good. We've heaped praise on the layout and feel of Mazda cabins, and this is no different. So bear with me while I wax lyrically. The ambience in here is certainly upscale with squishy surfaces and fancy embellishments. Dare I say it feels almost German, or like an aspiring Lexus at the very least. Perhaps disappointingly, nothing has changed in terms of your powertrain options. And this is an area in which we've leveled criticism at Mazda on many occasions before, but they always counter with Skyactiv this and Skyactiv that. The array of normally aspirated petrol engines has been carried over, with the turbocharged diesel derivative taking its spot at the top of the model range. Right now we are in the 2-litre automatic model in middle-range dynamic trim. And well, if I were being euphemistic, I would describe it as fairly agreeable. If I were being critical, I would describe it as downright asthmatic. You simply can't rush this car along, and you've got to be mindful of things when you're trying to seize a gap in the flow of traffic. This is a middle lane champion at best. Ideally, you need to go for that 2.5 litre or the 2.2 litre oil burner if you want fizzy performance. But in every other aspect, the CX5 is on some quietness and plushness levels are worth noting. Mazda, for example, says they've been a bit more liberal with the sound insulation materials, and they've also endowed it with something they call G-vectoring control. How does it work? It detects steering inputs and slightly restricts engine torque output to shift vehicle weight forward slightly, adding more downforce to the front tires. According to Mazda, this enables race car-like cornering precision, more direct handling, and swifter reactions from the car. Has it transformed into an MX-5? No. Is it confident and sure-footed wherever it treads? Yes. Opt for the top-tier individual or Akera model grades, and you get convenience features such as lane departure warning, lane keep assist, semi-autonomous braking, a blind spot monitor, and a system that tells you when to rest. But this dynamic specification is not poor. It gets a reverse camera, dual-zone air conditioning, keyless start, and that easy-to-use MZD Connect digital interface. Oh, and guess what? Auto-locking doors are finally standard. About time. The Mazda CX5 range starts off at 379,900 Rand, while the most expensive model will set you back 557,500 Rand. In its latest guise, the Mazda CX5 remains a hot pick in the crowded medium-sized sport utility vehicle segment. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I forgot to mention the threat that is the faultless Volkswagen Tiguan.